Welcome to the April 12th regular Board of Education meeting for the Princeton City School District. At this time, we'll have roll call. Mrs. Petter?
Dr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Here.
Mrs. Wider?
Here.
Mrs. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Simons?
Present.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we need approval or revision of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda of consent.
Second. I think we need to revise the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So let me see. But I move that we revise the agenda, deleting item H and personnel related to that.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Okay, so the agenda is approved as revised. And now an inspirational message from the Princeton Innovation Center. Mr.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hawkins. You know, I'm like a broken record every time we have a meeting and we talk about the inspirational message, but this certainly will not disappoint. So the road less traveled intersects with the path to innovation. Students from Princeton Innovation Center will present how the word is associated with them in the Innovation Center setting. And there's an acronym, and I'm going to turn it over to the great students and staff at the Innovation Center.
To innovate is to introduce or launch something new for the better, no matter the situation. So when I think about the Innovation Center, I think about how we cut out all the extra stuff and focus on what really needs to get done. Coming here has opened up my schedule and helped me focus on what needs to get done and finish school faster.
The Innovation Center and Ms. Key have helped me network by introducing me to Bill Steen and Jung King as possible employers.
I know if I ever need anything, I can come to Ms. Tiedemann.
Coming from homeschool, the Innovation Center has given me a better option for learning and schooling.
The Innovation Center lets me use my voice to communicate in English and Spanish.
I have been ordered to achieve more because of support in Spanish can help Ms. Ramos.
Because of the Innovation Center, my triumph will be seen on May 16th when I walk across the stage at graduation.
The Innovation Center inspired me to seek goals and improve my English.
Some students think you can't work full-time and finish high school, but the Innovation Center has given me the flexibility to do both and meets my obligations.
The Innovation Center has nurtured me by being my wake-up call until I remember to set my alarm.
Good. Thank you. It's really good to get to see some of the kids. Those are kids we don't get to see very often, so it's good to hear from them and see what they're doing.
Thank you. There's great work that's done there, and we certainly appreciate the innovation that happens each and every day there. It's amazing. So, and Chris Rojas is currently the interim principal, and in about 10 minutes, we hope to change that.
Okay. And now some introductions and recognitions. You will.
Yeah, do we, you don't have the resolution? Do I have that backwards?
No, you can do that. I was
Okay.
going to give you the other.
So this is the resolution that we have for the month of the military child. Do you want to?
Do you want it read?
Oh, I think
No.
we just need somebody to move.
I can
Okay.
make a motion that we pass it but not read it. Is that
No,
what
we
you're saying?
should, no, go ahead and move that
You
we,
don't have to read it.
Accept it.
Shorten the meeting, but it's up to you.
I move that we accept the resolution for Month of the Military Child.
Second.
Okay, so every month, so this is part of the discussion, so certainly appreciate the board's support. We read resolutions, and we're very proud of this one, as we are all the ones that we have. But whereas Defense Secretary Casper Weinberger was responsible for establishing April as Month of the Military Child in 1986, and the Department of Defense was honored, has honored his initiative ever since. And whereas the month of April is an important one for children who have one or both children serving in uniform. Since 1986, there have been an increasing number of awareness campaigns aimed at recognizing the needs of military children in all areas, from coping with the deployment of parents to war zones, to education of military dependents in schools around the globe. Whereas approximately 2 million military children have experienced a parental deployment since 9/11, and whereas nearly 80% of military children attend public schools throughout the United States, and whereas the children of our service members continue to make significant contributions to schools, communities, and the nation, despite prolonged and repeated absences of one or both parents. And whereas Month of the Military Child reaffirms our commitment to ensuring excellence in schools and youth services to military children who face unique challenges that other children their age may never experience. And whereas Month of the Military Child is a time to honor the sacrifices made by military families worldwide, and an emphasis on the experience of the dependent children of military members serving at home and overseas. And whereas Air Force Blue, Army Green, Navy Blue, Marine Red, and Coast Guard Blue all are thought to combine together as a single color, purple. Purple indicates that all branches of the military are supported. And whereas Princeton High School has been awarded the honor of the Purple Star in 2020 through 23 by the Ohio Department of Education. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that Princeton City School District Board of Education joins with the Department of Defense and schools, districts, and communities around the world in declaring the month of April 2021 as Month of the Military Child in the Princeton City School District.
Thank you. And Mrs. Petter didn't do the roll call yet, so I'll let you do that now.
Mrs. Weider,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you for reading the resolution. Yes, ma'am?
Man, I just wanted to add, thank you for reading the resolution. I am an Army brat. My dad was a Green Beret, and we lived in Germany, Fort Bragg, parts of France, and he was in the military for over 23 years. And being a military brat and a daughter of a Green Beret, I think it's wonderful that our district is recognizing the military child. Thank you.
Mr. Burton, recognition of the Great Oaks Foundation Aaron Scott Compassion Award, please.
Sure. As Mr. Schuster, if you can walk on up here, if you don't mind. And as Mr. Schuster's moving up, one of the first Great Oak employees that I met at Princeton was Mr. Schuster. We actually talked in his room, if he may remember. But the Princeton Community, the Princeton Community Middle School instructor earns his Compassion Award. Gary Schuster, a satellite instructor at Princeton Community Middle School for the Great Oak Career Campuses, was honored by the Great Oaks Education Foundation with the 2020 Eric Scott Compassion Award. Mr. Schuster has been an instructor in Project Lead the Way program that's offered to students at PCMS since 2016-17. Currently, over 1,000 students are enrolled in the program and or have completed it. According to Mr. Maxim, he says, we're very proud to have Mr. Schuster as part of the PCMS family. He's very deserving of this Compassion Award. He consistently goes above and beyond for students in the program and has a deep respect for his peers as well. I see Ted out there. Ted Kapak, thanks so much for coming today. Ted has worked so much with us in partnerships at Great Oaks, and I know our very own, Mary Cleveland is on the board there, and she also celebrated Mr. Schuster at a board meeting, I believe, and certainly so well-deserved. Gary, the work that you do each and every day is amazing. It's not surprising that you earned this Compassion Award. As we've talked before, you certainly in your heart for what you do each and every day, but you hold the kids, have high expectations, and that's what it is, but they see that with your heart, with your head. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate all you do for us. Thank you. And next, we have some art student recognitions.
You know, full disclosure, up until maybe 5-6 years ago, when I came down here, I knew about the Scholastics Art Competition. I always knew about that. But some of these other awards that kids are getting, I flat out just didn't know. So to help me make this presentation, unbelievable art teacher Lindsay Holliday is going to come up, and she's going to help me with this. But also, following her are 3 of our best and brightest. So Jordan, if you can come up, Elena and Yasmin, if you guys could come up, that'd be great, as we brag about you for a little bit.
I'm very lucky to work with so many great students, but these 3 especially were recognized this year with some pretty prestigious awards. So I'm very, very proud of them. Jordan won a gold key award with the regional scholastics competition, but then was our first American Visions nominee nationally. That was amazing. And Yasmin was also recognized in the Scholastics Art Competition. She won a gold key regionally and then won a silver medal nationally, which is really, really amazing to be recognized at the national level. And then Elena submitted an artwork for the Ohio Governor's Youth Art Exhibition, and she received a Cameo Award, which is our first one of those. So I was really proud of all of them.
If it'd be okay, if you guys could just come up, just very briefly discuss the artwork that you submitted, and just that the Board of Education can know a little bit. And I know Jordan, we featured Jordan on Viking Voices, also at Viking Diff program, and we're doing so much stuff. So Elena and Yasmin, be prepared, because we're going to be doing something special with you guys as well. But Yasmin, Elena, and Jordan, congratulations. So if you could just briefly step up, describe that, and then we'll conclude. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Yasmin, and for my artwork, it was called Well, Flowers Bloom, So Does Hope. And for my motto, I wanted to be an African-American woman, because my sustained investigation, which is what we're basing our artwork on, is how I can kind of examine African-American women with flower design. So I designed my model, an African-American woman, to have a flower design, and I wanted her to represent spring, a new changing life for the African-American women. So
Thank you, Yasmin.
Hi, my name is Elena Monin. The work that got chosen for the Ohio Governor's Youth Exhibition was titled Patterns of the Season. It is a mixed media piece that actually features a fellow student here at Princeton named Andrea George. I made a mixed media collage using painted leaves because I wanted to use something from the fall season to incorporate the theme of my exhibition. And I tied in the leaves with Andrea and made that mixed media collage.
I'm Jordan Robinson. For the artwork that I made, I originally started off as an assignment. I didn't really think very much of it. When I started to do it, I really wanted to make something that was like one of my best works. When I started to do it, I wanted to do something with lights. And when I started doing it, I used one of my nieces as one of the people to take a photo of. And I wanted to experiment with like basically anything that I wouldn't think would be something that most people would take photos of. So how I did is I laid a sheet down and I had my niece lay on the floor and do some poses, and I had a bunch of lights, like Christmas lights, light bulbs, candles all around her. And when I turned it in, I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was really cool. But then I turned it in. I didn't know anything about this award until I came in one day and Miss Holiday said, "Oh, congratulations." And I said, "For what?" And she said, "You won an American Nominee Award." And I said, "It's American Vision Nominee Award." I'm like, "Is that good?" And she said, "Yeah, that's great." So yeah.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Ms. Holiday. Thank you very much. You know, one of the key characteristics of those students, you guys can sit down. You don't. Thanks.
Thank you
One of the
very
key
much.
characteristics of each of those students you heard was your humility, and Jordan and Elena and Yasmin followed some passion, but I want those three beautiful students to listen to me right now. So thank you for paying attention. Art programs all across the country are getting cut. Music programs are getting cut across the country. It is Board of Education, the four here, and Mary Cleveland, who joined us virtually. There's unbelievable support from the Board of Education. If it were not for them, we wouldn't have all the different art classes. We wouldn't have all the different music classes. So to the Board of Education, thank you so much for your continued support on what is critical at Princeton and also throughout the country, and that's the fine arts. Congratulations once again.
We know that our art program, our music program definitely set us apart from other schools. And so we're glad that we have you students to show what can happen and how well you do. So thank you for that. And
Thank
then
you. For all the kids, Mr. Schuster, you're more than welcome to stay.
before you do that, so there are a couple of staff members, new staff members, would you introduce?
You want to do that right now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, sure. Anytime we hire anybody, it's a big deal, whether or not it's a para, a support staff member, a coach, a teacher, an administrator, whatever. But, you know, we also know every once in a while there's some big movement. So our basketball coach this year, if you probably saw, we recognized her as setting the all-time record for girls basketball. She decided to retire from basketball, still as a teacher. When you have a historic run, a state basketball championship and so forth, replacing that is a big deal. Mr. Roberts and the interview committee, man, they hit a home run. Dee Davis, 2003 graduate from Princeton, is coming home. Dee, just to brag on her a little bit, she was okay basketball player. Okay, all right. She was the first McDonald All-American in Princeton history. On top of that, got a full ride to Vanderbilt. Started in the SEC, went on to play in the WNBA overseas. But I think if you really talk to her, she's going to talk more about the impact she had 10 years at the high school level. Going to the state Final Four twice. I know, Dee, you did a great job in the semifinals, just didn't work out. But, and also very close a couple other times. Her passion came through, and on top of being, well, be a great basketball team, we talked about breaking records today too, right, Dee? She's also going to be our wellness coordinator, which is a critical position that we're going to need in the district. So appreciate Dee Davis and welcome home. Also, we had somebody who we welcomed home 4 years ago, Mike Daniels, a football coach, did a great job here and moved on to the collegiate ranks. And so we know that all sports, all activities in Princeton are critical. We just talked about the critical importance of the fine arts. Football, we know, has had a great run here. Actually, myself and Mr. Simons, Mrs. Wider, and Dr. Hawkins had an opportunity on Saturday night to see our last state football championship team get inducted into the distinguished, beautiful Athletic Hall of Fame, which is wonderful. So getting a football coach is critical. We didn't have to go very far. We had to have a couple meetings now, Mr. Parker, didn't we? But that's okay. So Andre Parker here in about 5 minutes, everything's going to become official. Mr. Parker had an unbelievable run at Winton Woods, been head coach there for 10 years, 11 years, and he's taken his team to the state championship, multiple playoff appearances, regional championships, and so forth. And but the best thing about Mr. Parker and Miss Davis, when you talk to them, we just talked about humility of the three students. You talk about Dee Davis and Andre Parker understanding that it is about a team. That's what we want. And I also see here in attendance our boys basketball coach, who literally has set the standard so high by his hard work working. What'd you tell me there, Brian? You work 28 hours a day? Is that what it is? So you have three coaches, but you have great coaches here. Gary Schuster was coaching softball earlier today. I mean, just absolutely amazing, the great work. But let's make it about Dee Davis and Andre Parker. You pick great places to be, and soon, congratulations. But we appreciate, and you guys are Vikings.
Welcome.
I thank you both for making that decision. It's going to mean volumes for our kids. Thank you so much for becoming Vikings.
And I did mention that Dee Davis is going to be a wellness coordinator. Also, Andre Parker is going to be one of our transition coordinators and working there. And the work that he has done, and Winton Woods, we're really excited about him bringing all those talents in during the course of the day. We know what he can do on the football field, but everything we hear about you, Andre, during the course of what you do in the hallways and the classrooms, the individual conversations you have, we're very much looking forward to you bringing that here too on a daily basis. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, we thank you all for joining us for that special part of the evening. We get into the part of the meeting that's not as exciting, so it's appropriate if you want to leave at this time, and you certainly may stay if you'd like. But thank you so much. So next on our agenda is, let's see, we have to approve the consent agenda. That's a revised consent agenda. So can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Dr. Hawkins,
I'm clapping because now it's official.
Okay, yes, I
Oh, I
see.
thought you were clapping
For them to be Vikings. Yes.
Okay,
Prior to that time, it was not official.
until we voted on it. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to read your note.
So Mrs. Petter has a communication to read.
Yes, we
the board.
received a $1,000 donation, and I have a note that I'd like to read that references that. On behalf of OCTA, which I believe is Ohio Career Tech Association, we want to thank Tom Burton for speaking at our spring 2021 conference. Your message was uplifting, positive, and refreshing. Please accept this donation of $1,000 from OCTA to provide resources for career tech and career guidance.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, to Career Tech, and thank you, Mr. Burton, for saying the right things.
They told me only 500, so
You must have said
I was glad they
something
doubled it.
more.
I must have said something okay.
Said something, you
They
said
must
the
have
right
fallen
stuff.
asleep when they woke up.
Still talking.
Yeah, and I did want to draw attention to two very quick items in the personnel document.
Okay,
The Board of Education has been really, really deliberate, and I think it's important that the community hears this. We want to grow leadership from within. And we know that our teachers do an amazing job, and some of those teachers want to become administrators. We've done a great job of training a lot of administrators around the area, teachers that go through different leadership programs here and didn't have the opportunity because there weren't jobs available and so forth. But we do have Josh Murray, who's been a longtime teacher here, who's going to be assistant elementary principal. Josh was in one of my first leadership academies that I had when I was associate superintendent, and thrilled about that. And Dr. Jameson really kind of gave a very, very compelling story about Josh and really the importance. Also, Tanya West Wright was very deliberate about this too, and it's really important to that. In the conversations I've had with Dr. Phillips over the years, and also Dr. Ronald Fosnow, who's done a great job at Stewart Elementary School as a principal, is going to be our new director of student services, and we're thrilled to have him as well. And again, growing our own and making sure that people understand is really important. And we're very proud of those two and all the other hires that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We moved into district business. Mrs. Petter, the March 2021 Financial and Investment Report.
I move to approve the March 2021 Financial and Investment Report.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it before we vote?
Of course, just
Okay.
a couple comments on the monthly financial report. Wow, 3/4 of the year through. Where has time gone? And looking at our revenue, we're a little bit higher year over year for the month of March. Of course, we're getting real estate taxes in advance mode, and the majority of the differential is as a result of our excess cost reimbursement. Last year that came in February, this year it came in March. So that shows a higher amount in March this year of about $566,000, but that all washes out with the year as we progress. So the other thing that we're looking at when you look down at the revenue situation, we do have our settlement sheets in April from 2 of the counties, Hamilton County and Warren County. We also have taxes coming from Butler County. We're hoping they hit the month of April. Haven't received any information from the auditor's office there yet. And but we certainly hope that we can finalize all our real estate tax revenue in April, so we have a good solid number as we update our forecast in May. The decrease, and I'll keep reminding you of this, is the state revenue is because of the cut we took. We were reimbursed for a portion of it, but we still have a cut from the state this year. And then in all other revenue, as we've said before, that majority of that decrease is a result of interest income, which has really struggled, as I'm sure everybody knows personally, as well as professionally. So, and then as we look at expenditures, the month of March is so close to last year's month of March, it's scary. So not much to talk about there. As we look at a fiscal year to date picture and expense, the area we're really watching is purchase services. And I know I've talked about that a couple months. We are running low in expenditures for transportation, professional technical services, and utilities. This is the month we really dig down into those numbers as we're going to update our forecasts. And we want to make sure that it's not a timing issue, that we have invoices that are coming, or if we truly have saved in those areas. I do know that we have moved some expenses into student wellness and success, and some of the ESSER dollars have also been used to pay in these areas. So those are things, again, we'll talk about those in a little more detail in a couple of weeks when we start diving into the forecast and preparing for the final forecast for this fiscal year.
Ms. Petter, you mentioned a cut from the state.
Yes.
What are your feelings, or what is the finger on the pulse in terms of us getting those other monies?
Other ESSER CARES money, we are getting a lot of support in the CARES grant area. So I'm going to talk about those a little bit next.
You know what? I didn't mean that. What I meant to ask was, you were saying that the state, we've gotten part of the money from the state, but the rest of it, where do we stand with that? Not CARES money.
So the state cut last year,
Yeah, that's what
1.4
I'm talking
million. And then again, this year, at the beginning of the year, was another 1.4 million. Then the governor had an executive order that returned some of that money to us. I don't expect to see the balance of that 1.4 million return. We're pushing all our hope and work into this next biennial budget. And we're just hoping that Princeton gets the money from the state that it should have been receiving for many years.
Thanks.
If I can just add one thing. We know, we've talked about this before. I have, Chris has, other members of the Board of Education have as well. We receive, actually now we receive, I believe, less than $1,000 per student in the funding formula, which is over $6,000. So when you think of that, I just want us to always kind of remember that from a funding perspective, we only get 1/6 of every dollar that is intended to go to fund public schools at Princeton. So I just always want to remind us of that fact, because when you start talking about Ed Choice and other potential programs that could take money away from Princeton, just want everybody to remember that we are underfunded by $5,000 secondary schools and by $4,000, or actually $3,500 for elementary school students. Thank you.
Okay. So on the COVID expense report, where we talk about all the different funds we have received, we do have money coming out of the general fund. It has not been a large amount, about $340,000. But when we look at the different grant dollars, the first CARES Act dollars, which was about $1.575 million for the district, we've already spent almost $600,000 of that. We have another $360 encumbered. We should have the majority of that money spent, we hope, before next school year begins. We have received about $93,000 in another grant called CARES Remote edX. We've spent almost $27,000 of that, and we have another almost 34 encumbered. So we should be well spent on that. Then there's another one called CRF, Coronavirus Relief Fund. We received a total of $634,000 of that, $348 from the state, and $286,000 from our good partners at Hamilton County, who shared some of their money with the district. But most of that money has been spent. We spent almost 613 of that out of the 634. So that's in really great shape. And then the final one that we have dollars for at this time is the broadband grant. That was $241,000, and we've already spent $228,000, and we'll work hard to finish spending that out by the end of this calendar year. So those are the monies that we know of, we've planned for, and we've spent or begun spending or have a plan for. Okay, so that's a lot of money that we have received already. I'll talk about the SO2 and 3 in my treasurer's report.
Any other?
But
go ahead.
A lot of money coming in, so we have been able to relieve some of the burden on the general fund. And so we look forward to diving deeply into those purchase service numbers and seeing if that $1 million that we're low right now is because of all this. Also have the credit card report, which my auditors are requiring that you review, and then the reconciliation for the month.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Mrs. Petter, you still need to call the roll.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Weider?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes. Motion passes. Approval of the amended appropriation resolution. I have a motion.
I move to approve the amended appropriation resolution and amended certificate of estimated resources.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Mrs. Petter?
So just a couple of items of change on that. We had money left over from a House Bill 264 project that was done many, many years ago with the construction of the middle school complex. We have $9,120 in change left for that. we have a project that is eligible for that, some lighting in this building here. So we need to appropriate that money. This will send out that grant that we did receive for House Bill 264. Then the other item is we received a little more revenue from the Title I funding. So we're updating that and asking for the revenue increase as well as the budget increase on that, about $119,000.
Okay,
Good news.
good. Any other questions? Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Whiter,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins.
Yes,
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
motion passes. Next item, contract with Branching Minds.
I move to approve the contract with Branching Minds.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Mrs. Petter, any comments? Anyone, any comments? This is for services for students, special services. Okay, any questions? Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes,
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Whiter,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
motion passes. And agreement with Aubrey.
I move to approve the service agreement with Aubrey as presented.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Any questions?
This program, the company really helps with community engagement and career technical education. And this is something that's going to be available for all of our students. It's going to be a wonderful program and really going to help us continue to advance opportunities for our students in the business sector.
All right, thank you.
When you say community partners, anyone in specific?
Not any one specific, we have over 500 business partners.
Right.
And so we constantly are in communication with them. Tanya Key does a great job with the transition with that. Trisha Roddy, myself, all have constant communication. And this is going to be a way to track the involvement, which is going to really put a system behind what we're doing. And we do have a system, but it's certainly going to be very beneficial for employers as well.
Anything else? Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Whiter,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes,
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland.
Yes.
and the motion passes. On to discussion. We have our first reading of the 21-22 Polaris modifications. Any comments or questions about that? Okay, then we will vote on that next time. Mr. Burton, academic update.
Yes, I did want to point one thing out there. I'll be talking about a couple different items during my report
Okay,
that will fulfill what we talked about, just having clear communication. So I'll be talking about one of the buildings that we own, 25 West Sharon, during the report. And also I'll be talking about graduation and prom update during my report. But today I'm going to call up Dr. Mary Phillips and I'm going to pass this up. We're really going to talk about the professional learning series for administrators coming up over the summer. We feel it's really important to make sure that we continue to develop all of our administrators, which ultimately trickles down to Phillips. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are moving right along and trying to continue to learn as we go through this COVID period and move forward with the new school year for 21-22. So what we have initially is, if you turn on the first page, it's a calendar and it has all our professional development that's listed here. And so obviously, Ms. Wright did a great job of explaining our summer school program to you at our last board meeting. And so that starts the first day of our summer school. If you can remember, some of our summer school is in the half day. And then the middle schools is from 8:30 to 3. So we'll continue to have summer school until obviously the end of June. Thursday of that week, we'll start the leadership training with our principals. We have about 20 teachers now that are going through that training for certification purposes. And so we want our principals to be aware of the standards that are involved with that so that they can be able to coach teachers as well. And so that will be the training that will occur on Thursday. And when we think about what we've learned so far this year, we've done a lot with technology. We are continuing to do blended learning next year and with some remotes as well. So the continuation of learning how to use instruction with technology is something that this professional development will help our teachers and our administrators with. The next one is our Universal Design for Learning, UDL, and this really aligns with our equity plan as well as our academic achievement plan and our strategic plan, because it really aligns with, it really supports individualized learning and personalized learning. And so, and really helps teachers to get a better understanding of differentiation, especially with our principals. So the emphasis is going to be on adapting ways to helping coaching our teachers to adapt ways to meet the needs of our students so that everybody is learning and not just our students that are struggling. The next one is our strategic plan and our equity plan and our academic achievement plan. We've put a lot of things in place this school year, and we want to make sure that we are reviewing those plans and looking at progress and making sure that we are reflecting on what we've done and then making changes along the way so that we can move forward with our goals for the 21-22 school year. And then we also have the Hall of Fame schools. Typically, we have gone there during the summer, like a couple of years. Yeah, we've gone to the Hall of Fame schools. And so this is going to be a virtual conference this year. So principals will be a part of that virtual, elementary principals will be a part of that virtual conference. But we will also celebrate our Hall of Fame schools, which is Evendale and Springdale. So that's what that will be. And then in addition to that, we have our Model Schools Conference, and Mr. Burton has definitely talked a lot about the model schools. I think he just recently talked about it, or maybe it could have been in our last meeting that we had, because we shared this plan as well with our at our Leadership Academy. But basically, this will allow administrators to really collaborate with other schools, see what they're doing, look at innovative practices, bring those innovative practices back to our district so that we can put some things in place. Hopefully they'll learn from us too, because we're doing some innovative things as well. And then, of course, the end of summer school is actually it's July 1. And so after that, we'll, as Tanya said to our principals today, we'll take a little breather after that and be ready to come back sometime in July and begin the process all over again. Mr. Burton?
Dr. Phillips, I just wanted to add a couple of very quick things. One, just as a reminder to the Board of Education, a lot of the PD, in fact, in this case, all of the PD that's offered in June are covered through grant funds.
Right.
And we work really, really hard to get as many grants as we possibly can to cover, in this case, professional development. And ISTE, if I could just add something, that is the highest, anybody who gets certified, that it is the highest technology certification you can get for educators in the world. It is worldwide sanctioned. This is something that it would be great to have a lot of our staff become ISTE certified. It's wonderful. And again, you know, it's too bad that we won't be able to do so much with the Hall of Fame. The great staff and leadership at Sharonville, great staff and leadership at Evendale really deserve to go there and experience it We've done so 3 other times.
Yeah.
So we know what that entails. So again, congratulations to Sharonville and Evendale for their work, and of course the other 3 elementary schools previously for Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you both. Excellent. So there's a lot of work and it's beginning. So we thank you for that. Treasurer's report, unless do you have more to say?
I do.
Okay, but before you do, Mr. Burton, any other?
Oh, I could do that now, or else I could cover it in the superintendent's report.
Okay.
Whatever you
Okay.
like.
We'll do it in the superintendent's report. That's fine.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Petter.
We are very close to transitioning to our new state software. The team is really working hard training, testing. This week is the parallel payroll run, which is probably the most important thing we do to see, we're in essence rerunning the payroll from 4.5 and making sure everything matches up. So that's a big hurdle. If we get through that this week, by the end of the following week, we should be live on Friday or the next Monday. It does take an incredible amount of time to convert the data. I'm talking over 24 hours to move the data from the old system to the new system. So our anticipation is in the last week of April, we'll be working on this new system. And as I've told everyone, my staff will be doing really, really well. And I am probably going to struggle because I'm so used to that old software. And I don't, they're processing and working and doing every day. I just need to pull data out. So we're excited. It's web-based. We're leaving an old function key driven piece of software. Anyone who's used software, if you remember having to hit your F1 or your PF1 keys, that's what we're still doing.
Wow.
So we're very excited. And the districts that have already converted are happy, pleased as they get used to the new system. It should not impact hardly anyone else in the district. People who are using tools to enter requisitions for purchasing will still use the same tool. It speaks to the new system. People will have to leave behind an old report repository that they've used, which is all PDF versions of reports. So they're very not user-friendly, and they will have access to create their own reports on the fly as they need them, or have set reports on their desktop. So I think some of our secretaries and staff that use the system will also be very pleased. So we're excited. We should have survived by the beginning of May. The biennial budget is, of course, nearing the end of the House version. The House should report out by the end of April. Maybe they'll get there a little sooner. Mid-April to the end of April is their time frame. We do expect that the House is going to wrap House Bill 1, which is the fair funding formula, into their version of the budget. So we all look forward to seeing what that's going to look like. And then we'll see what happens when it hits the Senate. You have to remember the House passed the fair funding in House Bill 305 at the end of the calendar year, almost unanimously. So the House is not our obstacle. The Senate would not even talk about fair school funding. So the House should pass this easily, and we look forward to seeing what the Senate is going to do with it. And the ESSER update I wanted to give you. So I talked about ESSER 1 and some of the other smaller number grants. ESSER 2 is in process. We have the tool in the state software that allows us to plan to put our money where we plan on spending it. That's $6.2 million. So the district now is working on the plan, which we will enter into the CCIP system and submit to the state for their approval, and then we can start spending. ESSER $3 are on the horizon. This is also known as ARP. I'm going to refer to ESSER 3 just because I'm a sequential type person, 1, 2, and 3. Go figure. And our estimate that they've given us is 2.2 times your ESSER $2. So that's about
Really?
13 million.
Wow.
We should have the details and the exact number for that by the end of April per ODE. So then we start this whole process again. We plan and we submit to the state for their approval of our plan, and then we can start spending. So that's a lot of work, a lot of people have to do. I've always said, we all love getting money, but sometimes it's really hard to spend.
Yeah,
So
right.
we have to work really hard to spend that money appropriately and get it done in a timely manner, because there's a time, of course, frame. The ESSER $2 have to be spent by 2023. I do not know what the deadline for the ESSER $3 will be yet, so we'll report that out. Then I'm just going to tee it up. The board, superintendents, and treasurers have a 5 p.m. meeting on Wednesday with Senator Blessing to talk about fair school funding. Tom, Mary, and I have been on the group involved in trying to organize the superintendents, treasurers, and board members that all have Senator Blessing as a representative for them. So we're excited about that, and I'm just teeing it up. Go Tom.
I look forward to being at that meeting.
Awesome.
Question.
Mhm.
The software is state originated. So there wasn't, I mean, so every school district's using the same state.
Every school
software.
district may use it.
Oh.
So just like in this past, there have been several other school accounting packages that I believe Princeton eons ago was on a system called Penimation. And Lakota, I know, was on Penimation, and a lot of districts were on that and have converted back to the state software. I think being a former programmer, developer, you know that every time the state changes something, if you're not on the state software, you get to pay to make an upgrade to your system. So I think those are some of the tricky things. And plus they don't talk as easily. I mean, we have to talk to EMIS, we have to talk to student system. We have a lot of state other software that finance has to talk to.
Do they charge us for this?
Oh, yes. But there's another package out there called e-finance, which is some treasurers have selected. We met with SWOCA, our A site, and discussed it in quite detail. They very much thought, and we thought, that we should start with the redesigned software because it's easy to move from the old system to the redesign. And then if you want to go to e-finance, it is more expensive. It has all the bells and whistles, but
And lastly, who has access to the Princeton data?
you have to have a login and password. So Terry Riesenberg, the assistant.
No, I mean, so just Princeton, just our district has access.
The state
cannot-
pulls from it all the time too.
Say again?
State pulls from it all the time too. So anytime you see the data in the report card, that's pulling from our system. The EMIS pulls from our system. The CUP report pulls. Lots of people at the state level have access to our data. We are a subdivision of the state.
Okay.
I had a question about that too. Will this system require additional training at the schools for the secretaries or anyone who does payroll?
We will help them. The majority of their work when they're doing requisitioning, that's the same piece of software. When they're doing budgets and transfers, that's another piece of software we use that talks to the state software. It'll be more on the reporting side.
I see.
But we'll work with them. We usually meet with our secretaries before school starts.
Okay.
Some of them are not contracted to work during the summer. So we usually get together back when August starts again. It's not ideal timing, but it's what we have to do. And we meet with them, and hopefully we can be back down in the media center or the tech center in our building, sitting at computers working. That's our goal, because that certainly is the best way for us to do it. But
So they can get acclimated to it. Okay.
hopefully we can meet in 3 feet and work. So
Thank you.
Well, we're anxious to hear about it because you've been talking about this new software for literally years. So
I thought I would be done working before they actually had a system. It's
Nope.
been
So
20 plus years they've been talking about. Even Jody Wright, who's been in this business almost 30 years,
yeah,
said she thought she'd get out because it's been like, and next year we'll have state software.
that'll
But
be good.
it's for real. The system is dying. It's an old deck VAX computer, and they can't repair them anymore.
That's a good thing. Growth is hard, but thank you. And Mr. Burton, superintendent's report.
Thank you. So to piggyback off what Chris last said regarding this meeting, April 14th at 5 p.m., Princeton, Northwest, and Sycamore, and then also one part of CPS for coordinating. We haven't been able to coordinate, unfortunately, with CPS yet on that, but we had a meeting today, and myself, as Chris said, Chris, Mary, and we represent the 3 organizations that put this together. So Mary represents OSBA, Chris represents OASBO, and I represent VASA, our professional organizations. They reached out to each of us to represent our region along with Northwest, Todd Bowling, superintendent, and Beth Weber, treasurer over at Sycamore. So we met today, and hopefully it's going to be really, really smooth, right, Mary? No problem. It's really all about Mary.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right.
She's picking it off. So, but we all have different parts. We're going to go through some of the key facts that we want Senator Blessing to know. We're also going to leave time for questions, but also leave time for Senator Blessing to be able to give his impression on fair funding, which, as Chris talked about, Senate doesn't have a favorable view of that right now. So that's why we're having these meetings across the state. So it actually was a really big honor to be able to represent Southwest Ohio, and there will be 13 districts there, but there's many more that are covered by Senator Blessing. Chris also mentioned ESSER 3, and you know, community members that are watching this, you hear big numbers, and there's probably lots of questions about that. I just want to reiterate what Chris said. So each dollar, each penny needs to be spent a certain way. Some of it may be overarching. So student COVID slide. We could spend money to help students catch up with everybody believes is the COVID slide, learning loss. So there's other ways. And Chris also said there's a certain deadline, a time frame, and you have to spend that money or else it is gone. So this is not something, unfortunately, that all of a sudden we have all this money, we can save it forever, we don't need to spend it. We have to spend it in time frame and under the restrictions that are imposed on us. Now, we're appreciative of the dollars, but we have used that money already to provide great programming for students, transportation to get students to and from, different programming, hiring of staff. We hired staff today through ESSER funds. We're going to hire staff coming up through ESSER funds. And it's really important for us to do that. And we have plans moving forward with ESSER 3. And again, that's a big dollar amount. And we are appreciative that finally, perhaps, we're starting to get funded the way that we're supposed to get funded. And one of the things that I talked about when I spoke at that conference, actually my keynote title was "It should not have taken COVID." And it should not have taken COVID to actually place value on educators and administrators, but yet it did. Should not have taken COVID to really illustrate the importance of innovation and creativity in the education realm, but yet it did. It should not have taken COVID really for us to really understand that food insecurities are all over the place, and you have to partner authentically with community organizations, but yet it did. And one of the things that talked about Leadership Academy today was, you know, when COVID is all said and done, does that mean that we should stop partnering with community organizations over the summer? Food insecurities are real everywhere, everywhere. Should not have taken COVID really to illustrate the importance of the digital divide and the inequity that has existed and has permeated not only Princeton, but our country forever. And as you know, we're very proud to not have any digital divide at Princeton. So I say all that there's a heavy, heavy lift that we always have had And our staff, and you met one today, you've seen other staff members present, as Dr. Phillips has, and many others have before. We have an amazing team here, and we're flexible, and that's what it's about. With that being said, we've asked our student services team to be really flexible, and they are going to be moving sometime in the next 3 months over to a building that the district owns in Glendale, which is on 25 West Sharon, which used to be our administrative center. And I have said it was 7 years ago when we were there, 8 years ago when we were there, 9 years ago. I think I talked every number. So Dr. Phillips, please publicly, let me tell, how many years has it been since we were at 25 West Sharon?
We were just there a couple years ago. It wasn't last year.
No, I'm talking about actually the administration center being there before Relish was developed.
Was Robert E. Lucas the superintendent?
No, we're not.
I've been in the district for 40 years. And when I went to the HR department, I went to the HR department at 25 West Sharon Road. And so that building has been there for a long time ago.
Okay. So the building's been there a long time. I think we were last actually physically in there like 10 years ago. Right around there.
Sounds about right.
Before Gary Pack?
I actually 2011.
2011, so
Okay.
10 years ago. Okay,
Wow.
thanks, Dr. Phillips. So 10 years ago, we were in there. We're going to go back. We actually had a tour today of all those people that could give thoughts, impressions, that had been in there, also that are going to be in there. So what's going to happen is in the bottom floor pack, that's where student services is located. All of that is going to be in 25 West Sharon. So there'll be about 10 to 12 employees there, sometimes sporadically because many of them are out and about in the district. Our records are going to be there. We're going to have a couple different support staff that will be there. And then the empty spaces that exist right now will be for growth in the innovation center that we know we're going to have. And we're going to do great work in there, as has always been done in the innovation center. And for those students that need extra support, those students that did not log on, those students that have not had great success this year, that need support, they will be starting the year at the Innovation Center to get caught up. And so we're going to be very intentional. We've talked about this, and for any parent that's listening, I think as early as September Q&A that we had, we started talking about this. We talked about it in October, November, December. I got a few calls from parents saying, you can't tell me my kid has to go to summer school. You're absolutely right. I can't tell you, but here's the thing. I care. Dr. Phillips cares. Every single employee in the Board of Education cares about the academic growth of your child. Therefore, if you make that decision to not take advantage of summer school, when we have seen evidence that you should be in summer school, then we're going to help you, and we're going to help your son or daughter. And that means perhaps going to the Innovation Center to start the year to get intensive intervention. We're serious about the education of each student, and we're going to continue to be that way forever. So this move is going to be able to help us add programming for students, and that's what it's all about. There is a house that's right next to the old pack, the 25 West Sharon. There's a house that is there. Currently, we've only kicked around a couple of really creative ideas. We have not made any decisions yet. We're still looking at a lot. It's going to take a lot of work inside to do anything with it. But ultimately, we kind of thought about a couple of different ideas, really creative ones as well, including maybe turn that into a business project for students to be able to think about some mixed uses, perhaps that could be there. So stay tuned for more information on that.
May I ask you, so the yellow house,
Yes, ma'am.
what has it been used for? It's just been there all the time that I know. Did people live in it or? Did
I
they
have
use it
not,
for-
I have not one time ever heard
So
of
you-
what's been in that house.
Okay.
I heard it was uninhabitable for
Yeah,
many, many years. It's a shell of a house. It's not livable.
It's pretty bad. I was
It's
in it
bad.
when they opened the original time capsule from Sharonville, and that's where we opened it, and it was bad.
so inside, I don't know what it was used for ever. I don't know if it was just a piece
Do
of
you know?
property that district owned.
Storage. Oh.
So we used it for storage, Dr. Phillips said, yep.
Mhm.
Well, originally it
Okay.
was the parsonage that went with the church. That's 25 West Sharon.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Because our board offices used to be part of a church, right?
All right. Ms. Muntz, do you know anything different? I see you waving. No?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I
Mhm.
just wondered.
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
was
So
wondering.
we don't really know
Yeah.
what's happened
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
other than the fact of what happened before the district owned it, but for
Yeah.
storage and so forth. So we're really trying to make sure that if we're gonna do anything with that, obviously we're gonna be very deliberate with that, but one of the things that is really turning that over to our students, to see what ideas they have.
Mhm.
It'd be a great project and who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
May I?
Yes.
The property at 25, I don't know if it's 25 West Sharon, but the property where you're gonna move the Innovation Center to, that used to be the Board of Education offices, right?
That's where student services is gonna go.
That's where student
Yeah.
services,
Mhm.
innovation's gonna stay
Stay,
attached.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, but where student services is going? I don't know why I recall there were some flooding and air conditioning issues there. I'm just curious, how much will it cost
Sure.
for us to have that building inhabitable for our employees?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We did have flooding, that's been taken care of. We did have heating and air conditioning, that's been taken care of.
Right.
That was taken care of a couple years ago. When you looked at that, we did some minor cosmetic work there. We know we're gonna have to put some money into it, but a lot of that work had already been done. So we're talking about some ceiling tiles, lighting, carpet, and some work on the entranceway.
Mhm.
A little bit technology. And Chris Lockhart and I will be going over there, our director of technology, will be going over there within the next couple of weeks to really look from a technology perspective what we're gonna do. But today was a walkthrough to look to see, if it made sense after all, because I walked through, I'm like, yeah, this would be a great idea. But the people that actually know stuff walk through.
Yeah.
So that was great. And everybody agreed that this would be a really good move. So in terms of when that's going to happen, we're really looking at 3 months. There's going to be some cleanup and that stuff, but Mr. Fricky feels, Mr. Patel feels, and our team feels that we'll be able to make that move.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
because
we don't feel it's going to be, I mean, every dollar is significant,
but it's not gonna be huge.
We don't feel it's, remember, to have that inhabitable for students, is $2 million.
Yeah.
So we feel that if there is expenditures, it'll be well below $150,000, well below.
Okay.
And then a couple of really quick things. You know, for all of our facilities, we always look to maximize the use of all of those and make sure that any type of move that we make is going to be in the best interest of our students. So we're looking at a couple different things right now with a couple of pockets of populations. So we're looking at that. I'm not prepared yet to talk in great detail about that, but we're looking at maybe moving some boundaries around. Nothing, again, we're not talking about the entire district, but we're looking at making sure that we're going to maximize and make it the best for our students. So we're looking at a couple different areas right now. So stay tuned. We did talk at a board meeting to make sure that the board knew about the facilities. That you guys all knew specifically about any plans and any movement with schools and so forth. So that's where we're at right now. And as we're pulling all the numbers, we need to be cognizant of students coming back from COVID. So we just received or just closed out our remote learning option for next year, just to get a gauge. So we had less than 300 students fill that out, or the parents fill that out for next year. We have about 1,600 students that are online right now. And so about 300-ish. So there's lots of moving parts to be able to make that accessible for our students. So we need to take that into account as well. And then we'll provide all that information to the Board of Education. Obviously, you guys know we're really working hard with summer school. I just want to say kudos to all the principals, to all the curriculum folks. Tanya Westwright has been working overtime to make sure that the summer school is at the highest of all levels. Dr. Jameson hiring folks to try to get that done. The Board of Education supporting different initiatives to be able to attract more teachers, as well as Dr. Phillips with her leadership as well. Really appreciate everybody for making that happen. And of course, Chris Petter does such an amazing job of keeping track of all the money and making sure that we're complying with all federal regulations. Obviously, we have a lot of end of year activities, so Board of Education, stay tuned for a lot of invites when it comes to years of service. We're going to try to really get out again, still in the schools, and with a combination of some virtual opportunities as well. So stay tuned for more information coming down that pike. We're really excited about that. Last Saturday, had the opportunity, as I mentioned before, to go to Hall of Fame. We had 5 individuals and 1 team that got inducted. It was amazing. Afterwards, I had an opportunity to stop at a couple places, and the pride is unbelievable. I mean, the stories, they just don't ever stop at Princeton. And it is so amazing. And I guess I'm a glutton for Princeton stories, glutton for punishment maybe, but I love it. Yesterday, I met with a 2-time Hall of Fame inductee, both of the team that got inducted in 1987 state championship football team, and also individually, he was inducted years ago. And I heard more stories, and it was just incredible. And so I know everybody has a lot going on, but it's always great that inductees are appreciative of the Board of Education, their support, certainly for that program. We are in the process of putting together for all the community members out there after and before school program to help support parents that are working that need a little bit of extra time in the morning, a little bit extra time in the afternoon for the childcare, trying to help. There's a lot of moving parts of this that seem like we could just snap our fingers and say, hey, we're going to offer this. But there's some ways that actually we can get reimbursed for services. We need to make sure that we are all tight with that. But we know that there's going to be some opportunities to have some parents that really have struggled perhaps with childcare at the end of the day or in the morning to really be able to take advantage of some services. So that should be all developed, I would say, in a month and a half, 2 months at the latest for the start of next school year. We're excited about that program. And lastly, 2 items that are so important. You know, I talked earlier here about, you know, graduation. There's no question about that. It is a pinnacle of what happens. But our job is to help kids get on pathways. If they are on a pathway, graduation will take care of themselves. If they see what can be in their future, graduation will take care of themselves or itself, excuse me. So if you're going to go in the military, you know you have to graduate. If you're going to go in the career, put your best foot forward and let's do that. If you're going to go to college, obviously you have to do that. So we are thrilled that we're going to be able to have an in-person graduation. That is going to be down at Fifth Third Arena. Just today, Tanya, any change in the floor structure or is it still the same? Okay, so I just asked Tanya Westwright, our assistant superintendent, specifically about what they did at Fifth Third Arena. So Fifth Third Arena, if they're 6 feet apart, we can get a certain percentage of our students on there, on the floor. If they're 3 feet apart, next to each other, and the rows are 6 feet apart, we could have gotten everybody. So we're gonna have students on the floor and in stands, and we have to comply with indoor rules. So we will have parents, guardians, grandma, grandpas, all that. Everyone would be so excited to be there in person, but we're gonna be all over Fifth Third Arena. It will not be sold out, but there's gonna be people all over. We really need to comply with the rules because people are gonna be around and we just don't want there to be any issue. Right now, 4 tickets per graduate. And I know many people want more, and it would be great to do that, but right now that's what we can have. We are not going to, we don't have the spacing to have all the staff sit on the floor. We're still working on the stage, who's going to be on the stage, how we're going to work that out. Remember, in terms of handing diplomas out, that's not going to happen. Kids will pick up their diploma. Remember, we're still following COVID protocols. There will be no handshaking. We will be there. We will acknowledge all the graduates. It will be different than what we're used to, but it will be great to see the kids walk across the stage. And again, there'll be some very specific directions that we'll all have to follow. That will be coming out here in the next couple of weeks. It's right around the corner. I can't believe it. And May 1st, we're happy to say that we're going to have prom. And there's some rules that will have to be followed. But I tell you what, our kids are so unbelievable. You know, today I happen to be in the high school and there are kids walking down the hallway. And there are a couple students that drop their mask below their nose a little bit, which we all have to breathe sometimes too, and sometimes difficult. All I did was say thank you. And the kids, every single one. It wasn't a ton, but maybe 5 students. It was just amazing. And I can't wait to see the masks that the students are going to be wearing at prom. Because I'm going to tell you, they're going to be bedazzled, glittered. It's going to be amazing. And the kids are having a lot of fun with it already. And we're just glad that we're going to be able to have that sense of normalcy for the students with prom, to be able to have prom and have graduation. There's going to be a lot of signings that you guys will hear about, and a lot. And before you know it, we'll be saying goodbye to class of 2021, who's had to endure a lot and who's risen up. That concludes my report.
Well, thank you.
We are still going to do the top 20. We're doing the music signing, athletic signing, military signing, and workforce signing. So all of that.
Still many activities to come.
I'm sorry?
Still many activities to come for
Yes.
seniors. Okay. All right. Anyone have any other questions or comments? It's an exciting time. It seems like it's going to be an exciting end of year. So that our students will be looking forward to, and we will be participating in as well. So we thank you for that. At this time, I move we go into executive session to discuss under sections 12122G1 of the Ohio Revised Code personnel issues.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Mrs. Petter, will you call the roll?
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons, Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Weider.
Yes.
And the motion passes. And so there will be no action taken after the meeting, but we will go into executive session now. All right. Thank you. We're back. And at this point, I move that we come out of executive session at 9:27 PM.
Second.
It has been second. Ms. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins.
Yes. Well, we thank you for being with us this evening, and I now move to adjourn our meeting.
Second.
It's been second. Mrs. Petter?
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Thank you all very, very much. Have a good evening. Go Vikes.